Welcome everyone, this is Smarter Online Shopping with the Watertown Free Public Library. My name is Chikavri. I am the Digital Services Librarian at Watertown. So just an overview of what we'll be going through today. We'll be talking about reviews and where to find trusted reviews, how to look at them critically, coupons and offers, where you can find them, what to watch out for, safety and security. This is focusing on connections like wired versus wireless and secure, unsecure, as well as avoiding scams. Different options for payment, apps and browser extensions that are available, and delivery options. We will not be talking about what to buy or where. Any site that is being used in this presentation is only being used as an example, and the library nor the town does not endorse anything that's being shown here. So we'll start out with reviews. This graphics is from reviewmonitoring.com, showing what reviews are mostly used for. So primarily your reviews are used for the discovery phase of a purchase. So when you're looking at what you want to buy, that's when really people are looking at reviews. Some people look at them right before they buy a purchase, and others look at them after they've actually purchased the item. But for the most part, reviews are actually the most influential part of making a purchase, second to friend and family recommendations. So when people are looking for what to purchase, they're really looking through these reviews. So it's important to look at them critically, as well as if you have an opinion about something, feel free to go ahead and leave that review because people are looking at them. The category that people most look at for reviews is actually electronic items, followed by household items. And for most items, if it's under $30, most people don't bother looking at the reviews. They figure that's a low enough risk to their wallet. There are several trusted review sources. For example, there's Consumer Reports. The library has a subscription to Consumer Reports. It's a nonprofit dedicated to consumer education, if you're not familiar with Consumer Reports and their mission. They have several different aspects to the way they present information. They have ratings for a variety of products, as well as a yearly buying guide that they publish. And then this is their best time to buy feature. So you can see April, carpet cleaners and chainsaws are going to be on sale. I think as well as like trimmers and vacuums, things like that. So it's kind of the spring cleaning materials that are on sale right now. But Consumer Reports tracks those things to make sure that consumers can get the best deals that they can. Another option is Wirecutter. Wirecutter is run by the New York Times, and Wirecutter is good at things that if you definitely just want the best of something. Consumer Reports is much more about having you compare the pros and cons, and you're expected to do a lot of legwork to make that decision. Wirecutter is just going to go through and say, if you're looking at a camera, this is the best professional camera, this is the best consumer level camera, this is the best webcam for like video conferencing, this is the best webcam for streaming, that kind of thing. So they're a bit more commercial, but they're also going to give you an easier kind of snap decision if that's what you're looking for. Now, if you're looking at retail reviews, the most trusted review according to the study is that Amazon's reviews are seen as most trusted and most accurate. Most frequently reviewed other than Amazon are going to be Walmart and Target. So these are the big box retail stores where a lot of shopping is being done. When you're looking at reviews, you can see that there's a lot of 5-star and a lot of 1-star. A lot of those you have to worry about paid promotion for the really, really positive new reviews, and review bombing for the very, very negative reviews. Review bombing is where a company has done something wrong, or a product is seen as being something that needs to be boycotted, and people who haven't actually purchased or used it then just flood the review with a lot of negative reviews. Paid promotion is the kind of polar opposite of that, where if people are being paid, they may not have actually even used the product. They were just given money to leave that 5-star review. And if you're looking at reviews critically, you really want to look at those negative reviews and see what they're complaining about. For example, if you're looking at a review of a fan, is the review that the fan's noisy? Is the review that the packaging was bad? Was the review that the equipment was flimsy? What are people complaining about? And is the part that they're complaining about important to why you're buying the equipment? So if the fan's noisy, but you're going to be using it as a shop fan in a garage and you don't care about noise, that's not going to influence whether or not you want to buy that item. But if all you're looking for is the star ratings on that review, you might say, oh, well, that's a really bad thing, even though the thing that people are complaining about doesn't impact whether or not you would purchase the item. People have actually found that the most trusted review is a 4-star review, because that's weighing both the positives and negatives. It's mostly positive, but acknowledging that there are some flaws. Also, you want to look at how many people have reviewed that item. You may see that it's 5-star reviews, but if there's only 6 reviews, chances are a lot of those were paid reviews. So if you go to an item and it has 2,000 reviews, 4.3 stars, that's most likely going to be a much better item. So there's also a service called FakeSpot. And what FakeSpot does is it allows you to put a link in the box there, and it analyzes the reviews to see how legitimate they are. The way it does this is by searching for patterns in both paid reviews and negative reviews. So it can go through and look at the language or the timing of the reviews and flag it as something that was either sent in by a bot, or if something is being review bombed versus something being a paid review that's overly enthusiastic and positive, that doesn't match what the rest of the reviews are saying. So one of the things you'll see with online shopping is there are a ton of coupons and offers. And this is an example, Retail Me Not. It's a coupon aggregator. So what it does is it collects a bunch of different coupons from around the web. If you can see on the filters on the left-hand side, you can limit by type of discount. And then there's a little verified switch. What you kind of have to watch out for with services like these are the coupons still valid? Is there a limited time window to use this? Are there limited conditions for which you have to have like certain items to use it? Or is there something else you need to do in order for it to be valid? A lot of these are actually mirroring discounts that you get in emails. So sometimes it'll say, okay, yeah, you can have this, but you have to sign up for the email for this organization before they will send you the coupon. So it's just letting you know that that coupon does exist. You just got to do a little bit of extra legwork in order to get it. One of the things that's really neat with online shopping versus retail shopping is price matching. And this is something where you can actually, if you're doing retail shopping, bring that online aspect into the store with you. For example, if you use the Target app, there's a barcode scanner. If you're walking around Target, you pick up something you want, scan it with the barcode. It shows you what the online price is. And if that online price is lower than the price in the store, if you let them know at the register, they will change the price for you. sometimes it looks like it's not that big of a deal because it's like, oh, it's $7.99 in the store, it's $6 online. It's not always going to be worth it. But sometimes it's $450 in the store and $200 online. That's a huge difference where you can take that in there, just scan it quickly with an app, and have that ready to go at the cash register, and they can easily make the change. So there are a lot of email and app coupons. I would suggest, just because they get sent out so frequently, if you're going to sign up for any sort of email or app coupons, to sign up with a different email address from what you normally use. Otherwise, if you are interested in getting these offers, but you're deleting them without reading them, they'll get sorted into spam. So when you are looking for them, you won't be able to find them. But it also keeps your primary email address safe in case whatever system you've signed up for gets hacked. A lot of places will also offer birthday coupons. The downside to this is you really don't want to give out more of your personal information than is necessary. So if something has a birthday coupon that doesn't require identification, you can actually just put in a fake birthday. You have to be careful with this with retail or restaurant coupons because some of them do say on them that they require ID, so you can't just sign up for a whole bunch and have a birthday day after day. But some of them, depending on how big the discount is or what the offer is, are worth looking at. There are also quite a few coupon scams. So definitely, when you're looking at an offer, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. And a lot of times they will match whatever branding the company has. It's very easy to do so. It's very easy to just copy an entire website look and then have it redirect to something that is malicious. So definitely look at the offer, look at the fine print, look at where it's trying to send you to make sure that you're actually getting something legitimate. So on with safety and security, we've kind of touched on this a little bit already, but if you do have any of those old accounts that say you made an account to get some pizza at one point, but you didn't like the pizza, but the account is still there, you want to go ahead and delete those accounts. Having them active, whether they're tied to your main email address or not, just leaves you open for whatever security vulnerabilities are in someone else's system. Each system has its own way of deleting accounts. So once you go to the site, you'll usually have to look for the frequently asked questions or some other service in order to find out how to delete those accounts. But I would definitely go through and see what you may have signed up for that you don't even remember anymore. That way, if someone does get that email address and can kind of guess your password, that way they're not getting into that account and leaving you vulnerable for security. Also, only use shops that you trust. Definitely, if you're using something like Amazon where there are third-party sellers, read the seller reviews. So if you go through, each person has seller reviews, and it can tell you, okay, this shipped on time. I never got my item. Item wasn't as described, that kind of thing. So you really know that when you're buying something, you can trust the person who's sending it to you. You also, again, want to limit how much personal data you're giving out. If you're going through and it's suddenly asking for your social security number, that's probably not a legitimate site. Excuse me. So you definitely want to make sure you're keeping that secure. Again, if it doesn't require you to have your actual birthday, don't put it in. You want to make yourself as small a target for security as possible. Also, I know with a lot of stores closed right now, a lot of people are doing secondhand shopping on things like Craigslist and eBay. There's also apps like LetGo and OfferUp. These can be dangerous not only because you don't trust the person that you're going for, are going to meet. But also there's a lot of check scams, and sometimes they want you to mail them an item, and then if they make a payment, they can rescind that payment after they've gotten the item itself. So if you're shopping secondhand, definitely make sure that you can go somewhere with someone you trust. Go with backup. You can meet somewhere at like a police station, somewhere that's open right now that's got people just in case. But also consider whether or not you really need that item right now. So we talked about deleting accounts, but if something requires you to create an account, you want to make sure you keep that as safe as possible. So again, you can use an email address that's not your primary email address. You can really just make one just for shopping. Make sure that password is not shared with any of your other accounts. Make sure it's a strong password. That usually each account has its own password recommendations, usually like an uppercase letter, a number, a symbol, something like that. My suggestion is always to take a word that you'll remember and substitute letters with numbers. That way, if it's something where you're trying to remember the password, you'll be able to do so. Again, we talked about this a little bit last week with online privacy basics, but there's also password managers that you can use to encrypt your information. Definitely ask me about those if you'd like. Also, when you're visiting the site, look for encryption. So when you look at that bar where the site address is, there should be a little lock symbol, or it should say HTTPS. That means that you're in a secure connection. If it doesn't have that, that means that your connection is not encrypted. What that means is that when your data is being passed through to that site, it's just looking like plain text. If someone hacks into that feed, they can see exactly what you're putting in or what you're sending. So with encryption, you're scrambling that so that it's a lot harder for someone to kind of eavesdrop on. So with a secure connection, that's in reference to how you're connecting to the internet itself. So if you're on public Wi-Fi, chances are you're on an unsecured Wi-Fi network, even if it requires you to like hit agree to some conditions or log in to a web page. If the connection itself is not secure, you're not going to want to do any sort of transaction on that account or on an account while you're on that connection. So for example, the library has both secured and unsecured connections. That secured connection requires a password because it has an encryption layer on the network itself. So if you're behind that, that just gives you a little bit more safety and privacy when you're making those transactions. Also, when you go to the shop page, make sure you're checking the URL or the address of the site. Like I said before, it's really easy to make a site look like something when it's not legitimate. So if, say, you're looking for Amazon and it's supposed to be Amazon.com and it says www.amazon1.com, that might not be a legitimate version of Amazon. But if it says, say, Amazon.ca, you may just be on the different type of Amazon. That would be the Canadian Amazon. So really just make sure where you're at is a legitimate place. And if you're ever concerned that you're not in the right place, just navigate away and go to the site the way that you know how to get there, instead of going from whatever link that you think might be compromised. One of the biggest things you might get is, say, an email with a deal and it has a link in there. And if the link says something, if you hover over that link, it'll show you where it's actually sending you. And those two aren't always the same. And we also suggest that if you're interested, you can use a VPN. And a VPN, or a virtual private network, is essentially a tunnel to which you connect to the internet through. It just gives you another layer of security and privacy between your connection and the internet. So what happens is when you send information, it goes to the VPN and it goes from the VPN to the site. And with the VPN, you can change your a parent location. So say right now we're probably all in Massachusetts. This is online, so who knows? But you can say set your address to be in California. There's different things that you can do with it just to protect your privacy. That way they can't narrow down, okay, you're in this place. We can try those addresses to kind of get to that core of your identity. So there's also several different payment options when you're shopping online. If you have a choice between using a credit or a debit card, go with a credit card. Partially because a debit card, that's immediately taking the money out of your account. Credit card, you usually have in your terms of service protections from fraud. So if you make a transaction and say the item doesn't arrive, or you find out you've been scammed, or you're having trouble returning it and the person refuses to return your money, you can dispute the charge. With a debit card, you might actually be liable for a certain amount of the purchase, depending on the terms of your service. There are also third-party payment platforms. So this is something like PayPal, Apple Pay, Google Pay. These can help protect your information. So if you connect a card or account to this, that's keeping your information from directly going to this payment site. So it gives a lot of, it's another layer of encryption there, but it also gives the problem of what happens if that gets hacked, because that's one more thing between that your information is going through. So again, if that system has some sort of password, make sure you're updating it, make sure that you're keeping that account secure, and if you're no longer using it, make sure you're closing that account. You also have the option to do mobile orders. You're seeing this a lot more with restaurants. For example, Chick-fil-A has a mobile order option. I grew up in the South, so Chick-fil-A lines have always been like, it's like around the whole restaurant because it gets so busy and the drive-thru is really slow. But if you do a mobile order, you don't have to stop to order. You just tell them you have a mobile order and you can go on through. Your payment is already taken through the mobile app. So you're not having to hand your card off to someone else. And there's benefits from doing it. For example, they give you points that you can then get free food with. So it's definitely an option for right now where you want to minimize your outside contact with people. However, if you're going to use stuff like that, you want to make sure that if you're saving your payment information, that payment information is secure. Especially if you're using it frequently, you want to make sure that especially if you're using your smartphone, that you have a lock, whether it's a PIN or a pattern lock on your phone. You don't want to just leave your phone lying around anywhere. Treat your phone as if it were cash, because you don't want to have essentially your entire life in someone else's hand. If there's a payment card that you're no longer interested in using in a site, you can remove it. So like if you have your debit card currently attached to something, you can go ahead and take that out and then replace it with either one of those third-party payment options if you have that option, or with your credit card, or you can just enter that information every time. I find that especially for restaurant orders, I prefer to just enter the payment as I go, because I don't know when the next time I'm going to order from them is. You can avoid all of that by just buying a gift card. If you get a gift card in store, you can usually use it online, or you can buy electronic gift cards. There are a lot of scams around gift cards though. There are sites where you can trade it. So say if you got a Barnes & Noble gift card for your birthday, and you don't really want to go to Barnes & Noble, you want to go buy some clothes from Target. There's an exchange site, there's several of them, where you can just say, hey, I have a $20 gift card. I want to trade it for a $20 gift card for any of these places. And they'll let you do that, but sometimes when you get that card, that you've traded from someone else, you'll find that it's already been used. So if you're going to do some exchange like that, definitely make sure that the site that you're using has kind of a protection policy in case you get scammed. Or just go directly to the source to buy your gift cards. There's also some scams where you will be asked to buy gift cards to like pay off like an IRS debt or something like that. That is never something legitimate. Anytime anyone's asking you for a gift card to pay for any sort of debt, that's pretty much going to be a scam. So there's a lot of apps and browser extensions that can be used for purchasing or retail research kind of things. We talked about some of the retail app benefits like price matching. You can also do kind of grocery lists with apps so that, you know I want to get this and do it on like a subscription basis. I know Amazon will let you do that. They also give you the benefit of, if you're connecting through the app, you're connecting directly to that source. So instead of going through your browser to get to Amazon, you can just go directly through the Amazon app, and it's keeping outside web traffic from getting through and interrupting that connection in any way. However, if you're going to download any sort of retail app, definitely read the app, the permissions it requires, and the reviews before you download it. A lot of apps are, or a lot of app makers are actually making scam apps that look like a legitimate app, but you can, and it may even have the same look or the same icon, but the name will be slightly different. And there's usually a listing on the app of who developed it and who's putting it out. So it may show that, this is an Amazon app, but it's made by some person instead of saying like Amazon.com or Amazon Incorporated or LLC or whatever they are. Because the whole point of it is to make sure that they can interrupt that connection and get your money. It may even direct to the actual Amazon site, but in some way it's keeping the information that you're putting through it. So definitely look at the apps before you download them, make sure that you're getting something legitimate. There's also some different browser extensions for shopping. These can do anything from automatically apply coupons to track price histories. I'm going to give some examples of these after the PowerPoint, but pretty much anything that you can think of that you would want your internet to automatically do for you, there's an extension that has been created for it. Again, with these, you have to make sure what you're getting and what it's doing behind the scenes are legitimate. I mean, I don't think anything's ever going to really replace being able to go into a store and grabbing an item, but these definitely give you options for looking at information in a different way. So I know a lot of what we're doing right now is going to be delivery. And there's different delivery services, whether you're looking at grocery delivery, item delivery, if you're just looking for like someone to run to, say, Walgreens and pick up cold medicine or something like that, as well as restaurant delivery. A lot of these are going to be what's called a third-party delivery service. And you've probably heard of them. It's like DoorDash, Instacart. There's a service called Postmates, which will pretty much go and get anything you'd like. But with these, you want to make sure that you're kind of keeping up with where your items are. Personally, I live in an apartment complex, so delivery is a lot more complicated because there's other people who can interrupt the delivery service. So you want to make sure that if you are using some sort of delivery, that you have it set up in a way that you can safely get your items. You're protecting your payment from whoever's delivering the item itself. I think like pizza places used to have like an imprint of your credit card, but if a third-party delivery service asks for that, that's probably not legitimate. But they are also now giving the options for contactless delivery. So you're able to set up the delivery, tell them a location to leave it, and they say like ring the doorbell and then leave to make sure that you can get your items safely. There's also all sorts of advice out there right now on how to kind of sanitize that, but we won't go into that. Pretty much anywhere though that has a third-party delivery option may actually have either a first-party delivery or an option for curbside or in-store pickup. So if you want to say support a local restaurant, instead of using that third-party delivery, you can just go and do a curbside delivery where they may not even have to have direct contact with you, but then they're also not having to pay that third-party delivery fee. Because anytime you do order through something like DoorDash or Grubhub, they are taking a cut of the payment so that they can operate. They charge the restaurant the fee itself. And then a lot of the online ordering that people do nowadays is actually for in-store pickup, partially because this guarantees that your item is there. Sometimes, especially right now, quantities on store websites are not accurate. So if you set up an in-store pickup, you can minimize how long you're in the store and have something just ready for you. It's already paid. You can just go in and grab it. So last, I do want to mention refunds and returns. So one of the biggest mistakes that people have is that they will either get rid of their receipts or invoices, or they haven't checked their return policies. For some stores, for different types of items, return policy windows are different. So say if you go to Target, electronics may only be 30 days, whereas the rest of their items are 90 days. Sometimes you think something's great and then it breaks, and then you're going to need that invoice in order to make a return. Also, online stores, if they have a brick and mortar location, they'll often let you do an in-store return instead. And that way you don't have to worry about getting a shipping label. Do you have to pay for shipping versus is the company going to pay to ship it back? Things like that. So definitely look at your options before you buy from a place for the first time to make sure that if there's a problem with the item or if you don't receive the item, that there is a procedure in place for getting that money back or having that item returned. Also, especially online, in the fine print are restocking fees. And these I've seen up to a 15% restocking fee, and that's if you return the item, usually for any reason other than it being damaged or defective, they'll charge you part of that price before sending it out a refund. So you won't be getting your entire payment back. Usually they'll waive this for exchanges, but definitely check that fine print. All right, and that is all I have for you today. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm gonna switch this over so that I can show you some browser extensions and some apps real quick that I've got on a web page. So you should all be able to see my web browser here. This first one is an app. I believe it's available for both iOS and Android. It's called Shop Savvy. And as you can see on this site, there's a lot of these kinds of apps. What it does is you can have this installed and just take it in the store with you. If you scan the barcode, it'll show you what that price of that item is at other locations. So you can make sure you're getting that best deal. And as you can see, this will also give you price alerts if you're interested in that. There's also an app called Buycott, and there are other things like this as well if you don't find this one to match up with your interests. But what this does is you can join different quote unquote campaigns. So if it's something that you care about, like not testing on animals, you can scan an item. It'll bring up the item in a database, and it'll show if it aligns with your values or not. So if you really want to support not being able, or not testing on animals, and you scan a shampoo and it'll tell you whether or not it's safe for you to buy compared to your values. And then it actually has a social media function as well, where it can connect to, say, your Twitter or your Facebook or something like that, and create a post of, hey, this thing is doing this, just to alert other people as well. For browser extensions, Honey is probably one of the most commonly used ones. What this does is when you go to check out at a store, at a web storefront, it'll pop up the extension here. As you can see, we're not actually on one right now, but it's just hanging out there, and it'll show you some of the sites that it has deals with right now. When you go and go to that page where you're checking out, it'll pop up and ask you if you want to try coupon codes. And what it does is it has a memory bank of everything that's been used recently that has worked, and it goes through and tries them automatically, so that you don't have to keep trying and putting them in yourself. And if it doesn't find anything, it'll give you, if you could see it before, this honey gold. And then if you care about all that, you can, I think, eventually trade that in for gift cards. There's a lot of sites where it just doesn't work, because this is kind of assuming that the company is opting in. And a lot of the coupons just are single use, especially if you have retail coupons. There's also a browser extension for Fake Spot. So if you can see here, what it does is it can go ahead and show grades on, say, Amazon products if you're on Amazon. And it gives a grade of A, B, C, D, I think, or F, of whether or not those reviews are legitimate. And then there is also Price Blink. So what Price Blink does is it allows you to immediately find those lower prices or coupons, and it doesn't show up until you're actually shopping. And I think Price Blink can also do historical pricing. There's a lot of different sites where you can look and see, okay, well, this same item might have been $20 cheaper 2 weeks ago. And if you're seeing that historical data, you can see, okay, I can wait until a Black Friday sale and get this for way cheaper versus just buying it now, that kind of thing.